Hello everyone, I am Shiba Sitino, the reporter of Chapter 10, and right now I would like to discuss to you about the media influences video games. So without further ado, let us start our discussion. The scientific debate over the effects of media violence is basically over, and researchers are now shifting their attention to video games, which have exploded in popularity and are exploding with increasing brutality. Educational research shows that video games are excellent teaching tools. Note by Gentile and Anderson. If health video games can successfully teach health behaviors and flight simulator video games can teach people how to fly, then what should we expect violent murder stimulating games to teach? Let us proceed to the games kids play. In 2010, the video game industry celebrated its 38th birthday. Since the first video game in 1972, we have moved from electronic ping pong to splatter games. By the turn of the 21st century, Americans were purchasing some 200 million games a year, with the average girl playing 6 hours and the average boy 12 hours. So today's mass murder simulators are not obscure games. In one survey of fourth graders, 59% of girls and 73% of boys reported their favorite games as violent ones. Games rated M or mature are supposedly intended for sale only to those 17 and older, but often are marketed to those younger. The Federal Trade Commission found that in 4 out of 5 attempts, underage children could easily purchase them. So right now, let's proceed. In the popular Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, youth are invited to play Psychopath, notes by Chantal 2004. You can run down pedestrians with a car. You can do carjackings. You can do drive-by shootings. You can run down to the red light district, pick up a prostitute, have sex with her in your car, and then kill her to get your money back. In effective 3D graphics, you can knock people over, stomp on them until they cough up blood, and watch them die. And as a research by Susan Parsky and James Blaskovich 2005 demonstrates, virtual reality games promise even more realism, engagement, and impact. So let us proceed to the effects of the video games kids play. Concerns about violent video games heightened after teen assassins in separate incidents in Kentucky, Arkansas, and Colorado enacted the horrific violence they had so often played on screen. People wondered, what do you youth learn from endless hours of role-playing, attacking, and dismembering people? Most smokers don't die of lung cancer. Most abused children don't become abusive, and most people who spend hundreds of hours rehearsing human slaughter live gentle lives. This enables video game defenders like tobacco and TV interests to say their products are harmless. There is absolutely no evidence that playing a violent game leads to aggressive behavior. It is contended by Doug Lowenstone 2000. president of the Interactive Digital Software Association. Shintan and Anderson nevertheless offers some reasons why violent game playing might have more toxic effect than watching violent television. Okay, with game playing players. When the game is playing, the players will identify with and play the role of a violent character. They will be role-playing as a violent character. Yes. The second one is actively rehearse violence, not just passively watch it. They are the one who will play and they are the one who will rehearse violence towards other character in the inside of the video game. Third one is engage in the whole sequence of enacting violence. They are the one who fights, kills, like selecting victims, acquiring weapons and ammunition, stalking the victim, aiming the weapon, pulling the trigger, and then kill and defeat the character in which the role player will need to kill. Okay. The fourth one is are engaged with continual violence and threats of attacks. And because in the video games there are many people who wants to kill you as one of the character in the video games, you are also engaging in continual violence and threats of attacks. Also, if they were attacking you, also you were attacking them. That's why you were engaged in that game and engaged in continual violence. Repeat violent behaviors over and over. And because you were fighting inside the video games, your violent behaviors will be repeated over and over, and you cannot stop it until you defeat your enemy, like what happened in ML. The last one is are rewarded for effective aggression, and because you were fighting your enemies and kill your enemies because you are pulling the trigger, stalking the victim, and aiming your weapon. You are now defeated your enemy, and because of that, you are rewarded for effective aggression. In which the reward, like for example in L, if you are defeated your enemy, you will be rewarded of, like example, diamond. You will rewarded weapon. Your rank will high, something like that. For such reasons, military organizations often prepare soldiers to fire in combat, which many in World War II reportedly were hesitant to do by engaging them with attack simulation games. Let's proceed. But what does the available research actually find? Craig Anderson 2003-2004 offers a statistical digest of 36 available studies that reveal 5 consistent effects. Playing violent video games more than playing non-violent video games. Playing violent video games can increase your arousal. Your heart rate and blood pressure will rise when you were in the video games, and because you were keep fighting your enemy, the heart rate and blood pressure will rise because your arousal will increases. The second one is increases aggressive thinking. For example, Brad Bushman and Anderson found that after playing games such as Duke Nukem and Mortal Kombat, university students became more likely to guess that a man whose car was just rear-ended would respond aggressively by using abusive language kicking out a window, or starting a fight. Because of playing violent video games, it also increases aggressive thinking, in which it is not a good thoughts. Your thoughts will be aggressively increases, and it can ruin your life also. It can ruin the life of the player who has role-played the violent video games. The third one is increases aggressive feelings. Frustration levels rise, as does express hostility, although the hostile feelings subside within a few minutes after ending gameplay. It also increases aggressive feelings, in which pagkapuot, the frustration levels will rise because the one who is playing the violent video games will keep fighting and fighting for him or her to defeat the enemy that he wants to kill. That's why her or his blood frustration levels rise, because he has aiming to kill that character in which his enemy. And also as those express hostility, in which pagkapuot, you were express hostility because you can defeat that character, that you can defeat that enemy inside of video games. That's why playing violent games increases aggressive feelings. So let us proceed. Right now, let us figure out figure 10. As you can see above, there is repeated violent game playing. The repeated violent game playing will cause, like we can see this, aggressive beliefs and attitudes. It causes aggressive perceptions, also aggressive expectations. The fourth one is aggressive behavior scripts. And the last one is aggressive desensitization. And these 5 elements, aggressive elements in this figure, will cause an aggressive personality, in which the kid or someone who is playing violent video games her aggressive personality will increase, just because he keeps repeatedly playing violent game. So let's continue our discussion. In the figure 10, we can see increases aggressive behaviors because of keep playing violent games. After violent gameplay, children and youth play more aggressively with their peers, get into more arguments with their teachers, and participate in more fights. The effect occurs inside and outside the laboratory, across self-reports, teacher reports, and peers reports, and for reasons illustrated in Figure 10. It is currently illustrated in Figure 10. Is this merely because naturally hostile kids are drawn to such games? No. Even when controlling for personality and temperament, exposure to video game violence increases aggressive behavior. Moreover, observed Douglas Juntal and his co-researchers from a study of young adolescents, even among those who scored low in hostility, the percent of heavy violent gamers who got into fight was 10 times the 4% involved in fights among their non-gaming counterparts. And after they start playing the violent games, Previously, non-hostile kids become more likely to have fights. In Japan, playing violent video games early in a school year predicts physical aggressiveness later in the year, even after controlling for gender and prior aggressiveness. The last one is decreases prosocial behaviors. After violent video game playing, people become slower to help a person whimpering the hallway outside and slower to offer help to peers. On a later monetary decision-making task, they become more likely to exploit rather than to trust and cooperate with a partner. They also, as revealed by decreased brain activity associated with emotion, become desensitized to violence. As a concerned scientist, Anderson therefore encourages parents to discover what their kids are ingesting and to ensure that their media diet, at least in their own home, is healthy. Parents may not be able to control what their child watches, plays, and eats in someone else's home, nor can they control the media's effect on their children's impaired culture. That is why advising parents to just say no is not. But parents can oversee consumption in their own home and provide increased time for alternative activities. Networking with other parents can build a kid-friendly neighborhood, and schools can help by providing media awareness education. That's why, in playing playing violent video games, the parents is one who is needed or a one who is needed to organize their kids, the one who is needed to tell their kids that playing non-violent video games can cause someone to become aggressive. They must make time for their kids for them to be not bored or something. They must make time or advising their kids to not overly playing video games in their phone. And right now, thank you for listening and hope you can understand or you have understanding in my reports. And right now I will going to give the place to other reporters. Thank you.